we're good to go.
Thank you, Clerk Froman. Calling the meeting of the Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Committee to order on Monday, June 23rd at 4 p.m. Thanks everybody for coming in out of the tropics into not the subarctic, but it's very nice and very comfortable in here. I'll begin with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Cabin-Monaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory in the traditional territory of Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for and teachings about these lands. May we honor these teachings. Have I forgotten a vote yet?
Just checking on the live stream.
All right. Okay, thank you. So we'll, I wonder if someone would move, please, to approve the agenda. Don follows, seconded, yeah, thank you so much. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary? Oh, and I do have to vote. Yes. Okay, vote. Could we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Anybody to declare anything with regards to anything on the agenda today? So do I have to vote to move on? No. So could I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the meeting held May 26, 2025, barring any obvious corrections?
I'll move. Sorry.
Thank you. And we'll begin go and vote to accept. Thank you. And we'll move forward now with the financial report from Chris Allison.
So as of today, contracted services still sits at $2,000, which was allocated for the year, and we have the 4,800 materials and supplies. There is $3,818.92 left.
Say that again. 800.
3,800.
3,800.
$18.
Okay.
And 92 cents.
Okay. So we'll imagine. Thank you. I do have a couple of small receipts to bring, which I left on the console because Dan was washing the floor in the back room. And Rob has some ideas about how we could spend some of that money to our benefit over the summer, but we might want to discuss that later, if that's appropriate, when we go through the different items on the work plan and the trail report. If that's all right with everybody. Anybody have anything else to add at all? Any other outstanding receipts that Chris should be aware of? Rob didn't make me aware of any.
No, I think we're pretty good right now.
Okay, yeah. All right, move a motion please to accept the financial report and what we just discussed. Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you very much. And now moving
to
vote to accept, please. Thank you. I come from a big family, looked like this around the table. We never voted on everything. And so was whoever had the longest boarding house reach got the win. So moving forward with the Orca report from Meredith Carter.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Our staff are continuing to work on reopening our conservation areas. It's a long process, but they're doing a great job. Other than that, all of our regular programming is underway. And I thought you might be interested to know the Millbrook Children's Water Festival. That was a huge success this year with 1,400 students in attendance, including local students from both elementary schools.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah. Thank you. Anything to report to Orca while we're here, by the way, before the summer starts? Your experience?
Wasn't it? It's removing the tree then, you said. What was it looking?
Ooh,
When we go through the work
Okay,
plan?
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
all right. And vote to accept, the Orca report, please, to receive it. Thank you.
And to you, Chair, Vice Chair McDonald, we actually need to move in in a second here, first, I believe.
Thank you, yes. Thanks, Lance. Thank you, Saskia. Okay, and a vote to accept. Thank you. And moving forward with the trail report. Whichever of the two of you gentlemen would like to.
Wanna go first, Jim? Go ahead. Okay, so I did Station, Baxter and Meads
Mhm.
and. Kind of long-winded, lots of photograph things. I went through all the photographs separately with Chris right now, so Moose is kind of aware of everything. And overall, I thought everything was in really good shape. It was like not wet or mucky, other than like a little certain, that one kind of path from fourth line going into fourth line, but I thought it would be worse than it was. There's some whippersnipping that needs to kind of be done. That I went through all this with Chris, so if you guys read my report, I just don't want to bog everyone down. There's some tree limbs to be cleared up, which he's aware of. And otherwise, I was like shocked that not shocked how clean it was, but I was really impressed how clean it is. We did our cleanup, but I did the trail that was parallel to the fairgrounds. And when I did that last time, there was a lot of stuff that was dumped, so I was anticipating after the fair that there would be, and there was not, which was great. I don't know, whatever we're doing, it was working really well.
Mhm.
Station, I had noticed that the entrance over at Tupper, maybe to put some stickers to say how to open the gates, because they were all kind of like stuck in some ways or another, but and then there was a sign that we could just kind of center that either we needed to cut clear that was on the tree when you're going, entering station off of Tupper, on the south side. If we just move the sign to the middle of the tree instead of facing toward Tupper Street, then nothing will kind of get in its way. A couple of trees on that that needed to be cleared, and then there's the one bridge getting closer toward the, mailboxes, which I thought we could maybe look at, when Chris and Matt and Mark and I were discussing, that might potentially be a replacement bridge for next year to put in our budget. So that being the case, this one, so it's not super wide, and I think that there's space enough, given the width of that area, where we could definitely put something that would fit in there that would maybe just go over the one route that was there, but.
Mhm.
It's not on Station Trail, it's actually technically on the other railbed property.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like an unofficial trail. that
Oh,
exists.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
Even though it's
well,
north.
this isn't ours here.
No,
No,
it
we
isn't.
Oh,
No.
Okay,
No.
okay, that's why I don't recognize it. Thanks for this.
That needs to be, whoever we need to talk
Okay.
to, so.
Yeah.
That
So-
isn't on station?
It's on the rail bed.
Rail bed
that
line,
we-
yeah.
That we,
So it's up.
but it's
Yeah.
it's beyond the hairpin curve
Got it,
down,
okay.
that is rail station.
Okay. Oh, okay, so then I did all of that, so that was the only thing I saw there,
Okay.
other than station was clear and, yeah.
You were referring earlier, Lance, to needing stickers on station as it approached Tupper, having something to do with the gate, that people were having trouble with that?
It was the garbage.
Oh, the
But
garbage
people
list,
just-
They're not
yeah.
a twist though, I
I
don't know why.
I know.
Yeah, well, I was reefing on them and there was bags of like poop on the top of them because other people couldn't figure out how to do it.
No.
So I picked up a little bit of glass on the thing and threw, like, when I got to the mailboxes, those I could open, the other ones I couldn't. And like, I was literally like, all right,
Mhm.
this should not be that difficult to
No,
open.
yeah. I
And
think
then-
there are times when it does need oil, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do
Especially
need
after the
to-
winter,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Gets.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I put them in there, pretty sure they used to have stickers on them,
Mhm.
that twist handle,
Mhm.
no, but
Yeah.
yeah, but they probably. came up with
and then
that.
there was just a section of boardwalk before the long extended boardwalk, which was kind of sloping in a little, that it was soft there, so as Chris was saying, it's a really old boardwalk, so that could just be do we add it to our budget for next year? If not, I don't know how to reinforce it, but
I think a lot of the boardwalks through the system is like 20+ years old, right? So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of boardwalks that could be built
Yeah.
throughout, new ones and
Sure.
replacing the existing ones.
for sure.
Yeah.
My like Speltley figure was, I was a little bit like, whereas, you know, maybe not everyone else does it as much as I do, but I was like, okay, this could, yeah, so. Otherwise Meads was great. The new bridge is great, and then I stopped and asked every person that I saw on the trails about what they thought about the trails and anything that they wanted to see. You know, anything that we're not doing or whatever, and just no one had anything negative to say, positive feedback, some new people. Asked them how they found out about us, and it was like word of mouth. So yeah, I'm really happy people on the trails and kind of, yeah, so it was good.
Very good. I think with regards to the fairground success that we've had, I think the fairground board is really efficient this year. They cleaned the perimeter of that field right back to the tree line, which hasn't been done in quite a while. And they keep it really clean. There's much less garbage even the day of, right, than there used to be. So I think the community is being really well served by the board and the folks that they have working with them.
And then the only thing was the
Mhm.
entrance to Baxter, there's a bunch of trees built up at the entrance right by the mill pond, which could be cleared out. And then pylon sign, the pylon tree, which Chris said was Borka, needs to come and remove it, is.
So with that tree, I did have a discussion, I did have a discussion with Meredith, she's gonna follow up and get back to me, they were gonna come in and have somebody after the ice storm.
Yeah, yeah.
With the trees down there, and that was one they were going to.
Okay.
Something because of the height of the branch hanging out there, yeah. So we'll follow up and.
Okay. And then at Fourth Line, the entrance to the Fourth Line Trail at Fourth Line on Tupper was super overgrown. Like I was knee deep in weeds and would not have found the trail had I not really known where, you know, where to access it, so that could use a weed whacking all through that little system there. Otherwise, there was a couple of trees that were down along the trail that straddles the fairground, which Chris was aware of, that you get people to come and clear up. And we just don't have any maps and brochures, which we knew we didn't have, but otherwise, yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Dave?
Great, plans. So, I kind of did Baxter Creek, and then everything set up for that, so just the heading in from the fairgrounds and heading towards Zion Line does need to be weed whacked, which Lance pointed out, and there's also some, especially if you're out after the rain, you'll notice that there's branches hanging into the trail in a few spots, so maybe that's more of a volunteer job that we bring, just go through the paraloppers, or we have a cordless hedge trimmer, I believe. And so we could do a little, it's not like a serious hedge trimming, it's just getting the obvious ones. And then I sent a photo of this like makeshift boardwalk that exists out there. I don't know if anybody saw that. It's just like, see that, it's just a couple of pallets okay, thanks. That have been placed in this muddy area, and because of the old beaver dam that's in that spot, the water does channel through this area in the spring, and I think it's a spot that never needed boardwalk in the past, but because of this channel that's opened up, it probably does now. And I think it's an easy one for us to do when we have that standard operating procedure for boardwalk. And then, so actually once you cross the road and continue on Baxter Creek towards the first trout pond that has been weed whacked, which is typically a job that the township's done in the past, but I'm guessing, Chris, your guys haven't been out yet?
They were out a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh, so maybe
Yeah.
they did do that.
Yeah, so actually they've been out a few times this year.
Okay.
So we are trying to get out every couple of
All
weeks.
right, okay, I thought maybe Amnar had done it just based on the location.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's done there, but then if it's possible to have them go, once they get up to the first pond, just keep going over to the, I guess it's Grand Trunk.
Yeah.
So I circled it on my map there.
Yeah,
So
so
it's a little circle that's there. Okay, Grand Trunk was good, it's finally dry. There is one of the wooden signs that Rob had made, right where you would turn off the rail bed to go to Grand Trunk. That one is, it's on a tree that's broken, so it's actually like pointing straight down to the ground right now. So that one needs to just be reattached in a different spot. Weed whacking and hedge trimming along Meadow Trail. We do need a little bit there, but that's on the map as well. And then some metal trail marker signs also are on trees that got damaged in the storm, so they need to be remounted as well. And DLD Tour needs some weed whacking or mowing. 2 years ago, they brought a mower down there, which worked well. And if they could do that again, it'd be really great, Chris.
Yeah, let's see what we can do down there.
And Gandy Transit was in good shape. And that's all I had.
So I'm just wondering, going into the summer, will you guys who are more mechanically and tool able and adept than you'll divvy these things up amongst yourselves as much as you can, or?
Yeah,
Mhm.
if anyone wants to volunteer to get them do, they
Mhm.
can, and if it doesn't happen, then I'll get to it myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I think it's important that it not all fall on one person, so we'll have to make sure we have ways of contacting one another to make sure that that all happens. I neglected to ask Rob about the status of the pamphlet boxes. I know he's made some progress, but he isn't where he wanted to be in terms of the number of completed ones, so I imagine that will probably happen over the summer. Anything more to add to the trail report? Anybody who's been out on the trails and has noticed anything different? And I might add that just because that current narrow bridge is on a part of the rail bed that we don't currently operate, doesn't mean we don't covet that rail bed, because that would be a very nice thoroughfare toward following. And it doesn't go, the portion which is going to remain open as a path doesn't go all the way to Fallis Line, but it gets pretty close. And maybe something suburban subdivision, it could be arranged to get, especially when kids are going to school on Fallis Line.
Yeah.
Whenever that
Yeah.
is thought to happen. Anyway, that's work plan stuff.
So who would, just people would have just put that bridge in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there are cross-country skiers that were pretty avid, using that trail, and cyclists and walkers, including people walking with walking sticks, elders with walking sticks. And it used to be just 2 pieces of wood.
I
So,
can't even picture with walking sticks.
yeah, I know.
Put them on the side.
I know, I don't, but it is the case that it isn't owned by the township.
Okay.
That is privately owned land. I'm not sure
Oh,
which
okay.
of the developers owns that portion, but the other thing.
Chris, can we expropriate this?
Yeah. But it is something that we have thought would be another jewel in the crown if we could get that path. And with that in mind, get the DSV managed on it before we think to take it over. Because it's really heavily DSV'd.
Okay.
All right. Anything else to add before we move to accept the trail report? Yes, John.
More of a question to
Mhm.
Dave, like in terms of splitting up the lopping areas and such. Like, how many people does it take, and it's more fun to go out with 2, but I mean, I can volunteer to do a section if you tell me which one to head for.
Okay, well, I'd say just between Zion Line and the fairgrounds is most in need. Otherwise, if you're out for a walk, I think even just like pruning shears,
Yeah,
you don't need the big loppers for most of them,
Mhm.
just like gardening.
but just start at Zion, work north to.
Yeah.
So I ran out of branches or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it continues. Did you notice many branches in your face?
Not many branches in my face when you brought that, I was like, oh, no, okay.
So just as far as the fairground, where it splits off there, probably.
That's where I noticed it, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different because I'm on my bike usually through that section, so it'd be me.
I noticed stuff, like when I was doing it, I noticed some, that if I had the lockers, I would have taken it up. I do carry the little guys, but some of them.
One thing I did when I put it in my report, can we not get a garbage put at the bench at Meads and that where Meads and Baxter split, you know, where the bench that's.
There always was one. For the longest time, it was where the bear one was.
Mhm.
And then it got very difficult for town staff to get the garbage out of there and get it to the road. Partly because that area was always soggy and wet or icy, really icy. So then for a while, we had one of the plastic PVC type ones, I think, that was swinging.
Like a barrel with a plastic lid on it.
Yeah. But nothing at this point. I think it would be helpful to people who don't want to carry their,
Some capacity.
carry their
Walk
poop bags and their garbage.
That's all it, you know, not too much.
Yeah.
I brought a knapsack to fill up with garbage and it was like nothing that really just a little bit of broken glass, but
Mhm,
and a couple of firecrackers.
mhm, mhm.
I have another, I'd be happy to go in with the drill this weekend to move the signs on the Broken. Is that mostly south of Zion or would you kind of everywhere?
South of, I'm getting myself in.
Or like where they were, sorry.
Where the side trail markers need to be replaced?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you went in along the rail bed or where Grand Trunk meets the rail bed.
Okay,
So that's the wooden one.
Yep.
And then if you were to continue on and go up Meadow where the two mountain bike trails
Yeah.
meet, so right there, there was a lot
Okay.
of storm damage there, so.
yeah, I can go in this weekend and take a look at that. That's not an issue.
Should mention, and you folks might have seen that, you certainly know about it, but the mountain bike club has installed on a couple of places. One of them is on Shared Trail at Meadow and the Railbed intersection, and others are on the more terrained mountain bike trails, just little red, what would you call them? There's one bigger, it's a tool library that allows cyclists with breakdowns to repair. And they're really nice looking things. And then there's a smaller one that has, what is it that has?
They're supposed to be for setting up a camera. If
Okay,
you wanted to take a video of yourself.
very
Yeah.
good, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, we really begin to look legit, right? Real formal, yeah. Could I have a motion, please, to receive and accept thank you, John, the trail report, and thank you, and a vote, please. Thank you. Moving on to general business. Now, this is down on the agenda as a commemoration of committee members, and I don't know whether we're wanting to approach that more generally or just with respect to the bridge in question. There was some thought over past meetings and several meetings back that it would be nice this summer or this fall to commemorate a past hardworking volunteer, Bob Spitz, who would have been a contemporary of John Selleck when the trails were being originated. And most of you, I think, will have seen this a commemorative plaque in respect to John on the bridge that crosses Baxter Creek at the bottom of the Fairgrounds Hill. And we were thinking of something similar with regards Bob Spitz. Now, Bob is not gone. So it can't say exactly this, but it could say something like this bridge is in recognition of Bob Spitz for his hard work, dedication, and love of these trails, and not have dates or have just his birth date. I think maybe it might be wise for us to speak to Bob and his loved ones about whatever we do choose to post. But I don't think we have to stray otherwise too far off the mark here, because this has lasted, it's stood the test of time in all kinds of inclement weather. It isn't facing the morning light, and it's rather shaded in the evening light, but the coloration is such that reds and browns seem to fade, and this one seems to have held up well. So if we could do something similar.
To you, Vice Chair McDonald, and to the committee, for you, has anybody actually talked to the former committee members specifically about this? Because we would, of course, vet any sign with the committee member if they were deceased, their family,
Right.
before we put up. But has anybody actually talked to them about this at this stage in time?
All I know from Rob is that Bob is still with us and very with it and wanting to, would not be at all adverse to having his name put up somewhere.
Maybe the best way to move ahead is, and so we've already, we've discussed that we'll allow to have it, so maybe we, the committee contacts the family and make sure everything's okay, and then we can
Yeah.
proceed from there.
All right. Now, could we have a mechanism whereby we could get a template together similar to that one, and investigate sign makers, hopefully find exactly the same one. It would be nice to kind of standardize it, but change the wording a bit. And then get prices and get going on it over the summer so that we could have it ready and waiting for a bridge opening in the fall, shortly after Labor Day, perhaps.
I think if, well, we can price something without the permission, and like we could price something like this, no problem, and have that ready, and then if you just get the permissions, and then it's more of a fact. Like, this is what we want on it. We know what the price is and everything beforehand, and yeah. So I don't think, they don't take very long to get made,
yeah.
so it's not a huge issue having it
Okay.
made up, so.
All right.
Yeah.
So we would contact you by email then
Yeah.
directly and get going on that
Yeah.
over the summer. Okay.
I'm thinking a perfect case scenario, then for our next meeting, September the 22nd, we can have all of that for agreed upon, and then have a commemoration in October before it gets too cold. If this gentleman wants to come out and be there for that kind of thing.
Or even late September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Nobody knows the size of this offhand, or can somebody get the size of it? And send it, thanks.
About 4x6.
Like
It's not
4x6, something like that, yeah.
Can I just clarify, do you need written permission from Bob, or is it just all okay?
I'm not gonna, sorry, Chris.
I would say written,
Yeah.
just to have, yeah,
By email those?
yeah, I would say. Just confirming that I'm okay with this, and maybe we send him our mock-up, and then it's another, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
To Vice Chair McDonald, it's my understanding that this is the committee's recommendation for the contents of the sign. I would suggest that maybe you have a motion to basically say that the committee is recommending that the Bob Spitz be commemorated on a plaque on the new bridge in the trails, and that we staff can investigate it and come back with some comments on the contents of the sign at the next Millbrook Valley Trails meeting.
Does anyone have better wording, do you think, than this bridge is in recognition of? Because it screws up the font and the format.
Honor of,
To honor.
just because it's about the right size.
Yeah, or this bridge is dedicated to.
Yeah.
And we.
It's
two
dedicated
dedicated.
to, yeah,
Right, but then we can.
Yeah.
and then we, yeah, for his hard work,
Take out that somehow.
yeah,
If you didn't honor, it would just be almost the exact same size as memory.
right.
Or recognize.
And then dedication appears
Yeah.
in honor of.
And I'd suggest not putting his birthday because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, this bridge is in honor of, and just take the dates out of.
Yeah.
For his hard work, dedication, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do anything in terms of font, but that's gonna be locked into by AODA regulations, like
Okay.
standards, it's probably not Arial.
Mhm. So the only word that would change then would be memory becomes honor, John Selleck becomes Bob Spitz, and there will be no date. But there could be room for a date if we.
What about this date? Like 365? This year.
Yeah.
When the bridge was made.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Should it be when when the new bridge went up? Or should it be the date of the dedication?
Are we not, oh, is there not already also a second sign? that
Yeah,
says
so we
date?
still have our, like, the bridge is an RTO8 dedication, the funds came from there, it came
Yeah.
from the. Baron Code,
Mhm.
so, yeah, so this is sort of, that's why I'm saying honor for his hard work with the trail
Mhm.
system more than
Yeah.
dedicating it to the actual bridge.
Right, yeah. So is in honor of, yeah, I like it.
Probably don't need a date because the other one has dates on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the date.
In honor of the work he did with the trail, right?
Right.
Yeah.
you got all that, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, just for a recommendation for motion, I would just say that the committee recommends that there be a plaque installed on the new bridge dedicating it to, not dedicating the bridge, sorry, in commemoration of Bob Spitz and the work that he did on the trails.
Mhm. Or in honor of
Yeah.
Bob Spitz.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement of what the wording is, so
Yeah.
that's.
We just need to vote on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, so, I would say that, we've arrived at the wording to be, this bridge is in honor of Bob Spitz for his hard work, sorry. You caught up? Dedication and love of these trails. Got it? Okay. So could I have a motion to accept?
Just
they
need
don't
to
need-
move
Just need a mover? Okay,
Better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
who's, sorry.
I'll second.
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Alright.
All right, and now a
We
vote.
all vote.
Thank you. Thanks. So now work plan. Well, I can say confidently on Rob Jackson's behalf that the Trail Master Plan update is ongoing. I've received no new notifications, and Rob didn't make me any any new notifications about any new approvals needing our input for the North Trail expansion. Number 3, trail expansion options.
So to you, Vice Chair McDonald, we actually, staff investigated the trail ownership from the last committee meeting that you mentioned along the old Sogan mansion grounds. We have the 2 maps over here.
Yeah, so as you can see, the 2 green areas there, so these are private property, which is pretty much cut your loop right out in there, really, so So the option is, so there could be a motion from the committee, which would be, the staff investigate it more and take a report to council about purchasing these properties. There is 2 properties in there. These properties were looked at and, many years ago when the properties were bought, and it was, little cost prohibitive back then. So it's sort of, if it's something that you wish, if it's a big wish for you, so it would be, taking a report to council's approval on the trail expansion itself, and then council's approval on, whether we investigate purchasing these properties and how much would we be willing to purchase these properties for. So it's
Mhm.
kind of the committee, if it's like I do understand, it's a historical and it's a cultural area. But if you guys want to have a chat about it, and
I just first of all ask the bottom one, which on the former map, the cut pre, why is that labeled subject property? As opposed to blue, being blue, private property, just what's that distinction?
Yellow.
We know.
There's nothing specific. Our planner just, I think, was trying to make the 2 properties the same. I believe the trail is more like, well, I don't want to speculate.
But it is still private, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's colored yellow.
Yeah, it's just a different version of the map. This one would be a little bit more.
this was sort of a quick, hey, this is probably this is what they're thinking, and then we got a little better map that we just had up there for you.
And through your, I guess to you, because I think you probably, you know more than I do anyway. I'm trying to picture, if we go back to which one is actually the one that has the southern buildings, is it this one up here or is it this one down here?
It's the triangle one above the top private property. You can see the indentation of the foundation in the peninsula, if you will.
The one above the, okay,
Yeah.
so then this other one, there looks like there've been buildings there as well, but
Mhm.
that's what I was trying to, I wondered if the subject property was the one that had the building, but that's not the blue property on the other one.
Mhm.
Or the green, yellow
So,
property.
yeah, it sort of looks like they stretch through, like there's some in property down here, some up in that property.
Mhm. So there is a precedent, if I'm reading the map right, there is a precedent of a trail moving through that private property that served or crossed over the old snowmobile bridge, right? Which is now still on its footings, but very deteriorated and it's been partly dismantled. So you guys would know better than I would where that crosses, but I think there is a precedent for that property having been used. The entrance to
Just
The
for
snow-
everyone's reference, this is actually the old snowmobile trail that directly crosses my property.
I will say this to you, Vice Chair McDonald, first, I hope you don't mind. So we did have a conversation with Yvette about this, and our attitude is from modern liability purpose that we will not have any trails going through private properties, and it's there is a considerable thing, even if the owner let the trail go through it. As a township, we have there's all risk that we might be taking on about any malfeasance that happens on their property, and of course, the owner could just withdraw their consent potentially. So if we were going to construct a trail, it would have to be on property owned by the township. And this is what some of these old purchases were for. I believe in the 2000s when we were expanding the trail system considerably. Some of you were probably around then. That we were actually actively looking to buy properties to support the trail system. So I don't think having a trail go through private property is an option that the township would be looking at, to be honest with you.
And even with snowmobile trails, so snowmobile trails are getting harder and harder too, because a lot of people don't want the liability of that snowmobile trail going through, and they have individual agreements with every property owner on the whole system, so.
I myself have the feeling that it wouldn't hurt to look at it, to look and see whether the private property owners would be either different from the ones that were there before, or at a point in their lives when they would consider donating the land or selling the land.
Um,
In particular, because neither of those larger pieces has road access and likely never will have road access. So, I don't think it would hurt to,
Yeah, I agree, no harm in asking, right? Yes.
And from my perspective, we can kind of half our theoretical cost, because I don't think there's any value, even though that's where we've got the pink trail going through, of purchasing that bottom private property, because that is the worst marshy bit of the
Okay.
whole lot.
um,
And, you know, I everywhere where the pink loop goes
mhm.
on the flat bit, you know, once we've come down from the steep peninsula, it's mucky as hell in there. And I would suggest if we were going to try and build a loop in there, it would be best to kind of stay along the edge of the ridge, if you see what I mean.
So it
Because-
would then just be the one property south of the mansion
Yeah.
that delineated by
Yeah,
the.
and obviously then that would allow us to do
Mhm.
such a loop
Mhm.
that would still be, I mean, I don't know if anyone's sort of explored along there, but it's really cool, like going
Mhm.
along the edge of that ridge, because it's quite precipitous in places. But yeah,
Mhm.
so certainly that would be the one property would be most worth investigating or asking about.
Could there be an opportunity to even just build a small trail from the existing trail there or the fairgrounds entrance on CMO land down into where that old foundation is? And it wouldn't be a huge trail, but it would be something that would be on owned land already.
Yeah, I mean, I would say worst case scenario, let's just say we approach the top private property owner and they either are not interested in selling or it's prohibitively expensive. Personally, I still think it would be worthwhile kind of doing a attenuated loop that if you go on the top square bit, if I can put it that way, going through the top CM parcel, then we have going over the small bit of the ravine there, and then effectively you have the trail go along that green property line from left to right, and then basically follow the edge of the ridge back. So just there.
Mhm.
I could see value in essentially this bit already is mostly a trail anyway. So coming here, round the edge and sort of back again, something like that.
Okay,
That
yeah,
would still,
Yeah.
it's not exactly what we were initially thinking, but I think there would be still value to it.
yeah, I think the the vista, to the east of the mansion foundation, that bigger crater there, over the creek is quite lovely. And the ravine, following the ravine, the topography of the ravine on all sides would be really interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can imagine, my memory serves correctly, the old trestle bridge that used to go and connect across this ravine used to be pretty much there. And so then you can imagine having a plaque there with that photo on it, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say at all that we would necessarily rebuild the bridge. There are so many huge hemlocks and stuff in there, and so many pickup sticks haven't fallen down. The expense of a bridge in there, if one of those big things came down, would be huge.
And I guess another thing, if we were to be able to do that sort of small little loop, like just kind of traced out, it might be cool to also then have some kind of zigzag connector going down from the from the foundation here, zigzag down the steep hill down, and then it connect up onto the existing trail just where it skirts round the big loop where the bench is just there, basically.
Or a zip line.
Well, I would like that, but I know how.
I think we would have to recommend that, which I.
Put it in the budget.
Liability insurance for this
Yeah.
unsupervised zip line.
Yeah, still in all, I think an interesting enough trail could be accommodated, as Kirk says, but it wouldn't hurt to find out whether that land would be more available. That item in question would be more available now than it might have been the last
Could
time.
not
You know?
a township solely approach and ask, or would it not maybe hurt to have you or Rob be with one of the people so that they could see the commitment from the trail committee?
To you, Councillor Nigel, I think this was something that we would, if we're talking about potential acquisition of land, I suspect it would. No, I strongly insist that it would be a township, and council would have to be involved. You're probably.
No, but would it not hurt? I don't think it would hurt to have one delegate from our committee be there sitting in as like a show of support kind of thing, like, you know. I don't think it would hurt, as long as they don't have to speak, but.
No, I understand. You're probably aware there's an entire process around the acquisition of land, and I don't, I first of all don't want to be here, say, I can recite it off the top of my head. Definitely, we want to make sure everything's done. The committee can definitely indicate its support, for the trail, I think, by having a motion basically asking staff to kind of, investigate the property ownership, or if the committee wants to, I believe as was being suggested, maybe find a route that can circumvent the private property. That is also another option, that the committee can, recommend. Yeah.
I think all in all, it's gonna have to go to council first anyways, to be approved the trail and to approve actually approaching.
Yeah.
To purchase the property or investigate purchasing the property. So if it's like it might be a no-go right from the start, right? It's, yeah.
Maybe.
So whether it's the county's wish to. Like, I'm sure it's gonna be costly to purchase the property, if it's your wish to put that money into that property for this trail, or whether there's somewhere else you think money would be better spent in the trail system. It's,
Well, we won't know,
Yeah.
won't know until we know, right? Because who knows? We don't know who owns the
Yeah,
property, and
yeah.
we don't know what their sense of what they want to do with it might be. John?
And suggest a wording. We say, whereas the committee is interested in putting a trail on the property north of the one that we don't own. The council contact, or not council, but township staff contact the owners. And ask them if they would be interested in donating. And I'm guessing probably they would say they'd be willing to sell perhaps. But I think we worded as, whereas we're interested in doing the other part, we could ask council to approach the owner.
Yeah.
And see if they'd be interested in
And,
cooperating.
yeah, we could say too, it has its historical and natural interest to the township, because it was owned by a prominent citizen.
But we've already got that part. We don't have
Yeah,
to
we don't have.
appear too desperate, I think is what I'm indicating.
Right, okay. All right.
To you, Vice Chair McDonald, if I can just, kind of parse what I have in my notes, based on what John is recommending. But first of all, I think, that first of all, that the committee wishes to, recommend the expansion of the trails along, the old Salvin Mansion grounds, and that the committee recommend that staff investigate the acquisition of the northern property identified in the map provided to the committee.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have any comments, or does that sound good to you? Good.
Could somebody move, please?
I'm-
Thank you, Kirk, and thank you, John. And a vote, please. Thank you. Do you have any grave concerns about us developing that area at all?
I am not familiar with the area, so that would be a,
High and dry.
yeah.
One of very few high and dry
That would be a
areas.
good read. Start with Don and his team, and then they can take a look at that particular property, and let you know if there's any concerns or constraints.
Concerns right off the hop, yeah.
Thank you. So moving on then to GIS mapping.
Yeah, so I had a meeting with the county last week on this. And with the Arc Enterprises app, they are, so they let me know that we have licensing already through so there are IT representatives, so we have the licensing for the program already, so we do not have to pay for that. They said the only cost we'd incur is probably about 15 hours to set it up, because they're working with a couple other local townships right now on the exact same projects of mapping their trail systems. And they are prepared to start right away, and they want to come to our September meeting and have a good start on it to show you.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So I haven't got the quote on their 15 hours, but it's sort of like their hourly, they have a few different hourly rates on who's doing the work and that, and 15 hours staff rate, so I'm still waiting on that.
All right, and would that come out of our budget? or- Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
There is $2,000 in contracted services, it would be nowhere near that.
yeah,
That
except
amount,
that part of that is Sean, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if we, maybe if we can cut back a little bit on spraying this year, and we'd have a mapping system in very soon.
Okay,
And with the mapping system, so they are sending me a separate version to go through, and they said if any of you want to take pictures, say you want to take a picture of the bridge, boardwalk, wildlife, and we can pin it right on this map, and when they come, it'll be right on the map, and she can show you, pull it up, here's this bridge, here's this bridge, here's the benches,
Cool.
here's wildlife you see in this area, and yeah.
very
So
cool.
it's really interactive, it was neat to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you, at some point, whenever you get an estimate,
It should be anytime,
Dollar.
she's,
yeah, if you could get that to me so that I can decide where to tag on the trails for spraying, just so that I'm not overdoing it.
Can I just ask, Chris, do you know or have a sense of, assuming it is created, where it will be hosted, like, or like, it won't be a standalone app or anything, no?
It's Arc Enterprises, so it's they're used all over the place, yeah, so I'm not 100%, I'm not very key on it, but yeah, so there is other townships around that are using it, Ganaraska, that's their systems on Arc Enterprises. So we did meet with Ganaraska, and they sent us over to the county, because they know we already work with the county, so they didn't wanna sort of double dip on us, and yeah.
I think it would just be before we do sort of definitely go ahead, just be clarifying that we don't want this just kind of for internal purposes, if you will.
Yeah.
That we-
No,
like
it's
a
not.
public facing.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Okay, as long as that.
Oh, yeah.
Just for you to know, we're partnering with the county. It is GIS for another thing for our Heritage Advisory Committee on cultural mapping. And the intent is for that to be a public project without knowing all the nuts and bolts about what Chris is talking about. I think the intent is to be over there. And if you ever go to Peterborough County's website, like the GIS is a very useful tool, and it's currently there and available for the public to access. And I think this would be the same.
And they had a lot of our information there already from past projects they've done, and everything's already entered into the GIS. And yeah, it was pretty neat when they pulled it up, just,
Very cool.
yeah.
So sorry, this is a public facing project that would be like on the Kevin Monaghan website? Or where would someone actually find this?
You get the app,
Okay,
so you get our enterprises, and then you punch in Millbrook Valley Trails or hit the QR code somewhere in the map, there's a map.
okay.
You go to
Kind of
Ganaraska, you
similar to
switch
like-
it over to Ganaraska, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to like an all trails or really any of those.
Yeah,
apps.
yeah.
Okay.
In
So
terms of
ARC Enterprises is ARC?
ARC, yeah,
ARC.
Arc
Okay.
Enterprises.
Alrighty, so yeah, I'd really appreciate that Rob and I hear about that.
Yeah,
as soon as
yeah, as soon as I get
possible.
it, I
Great.
can, yeah.
Thank you. And number 5, exploring options to expand the Getty Transit along Dial Road allowance.
Nothing new unless Chris has heard more.
No, I don't have anything on that. Other than we're waiting for the agreement right now, yeah.
Number 6, explore an alternative entrance to fairground entrance. And I believe that's still on hold for the moment. I don't know whether we would consider the switchbacks down from the mansion to the current Fairground Hill an alternative entrance, because it doesn't give us any real, you have to be a fairly good cyclist for that to work for you. So, yeah, an alternative entrance would be something that wouldn't be quite as steep. So this still should stay an item on the work plan, regardless of what happens to our mention trail success. Updated signage and brochures. And I haven't heard more from Rob either about where he is with costs and stuff. So we'll have to get that clarified as well. Partly because I don't want him to absorb anything for himself. Number 8, exploration of trail system to downtown Millbrook. That's Dave.
Yeah, no, nothing else there.
Design of pamphlet and bag dispensers, as I said. So upset limit is 1,200. He hasn't made me aware of him being on either side of that. But I'd like to clarify that and make sure that everything gets reconciled before the end of September at least. Going on to number 10, management of invasive species. So I was lucky to actually meet Sean in person, and he's very keen on keeping the contract with us, and that's such a relief to me because he knows the trails really well, and I can just kind of point him in any direction, and he knows where he's going. It would be so hard to retrain to get anybody else to do it, so that helps a lot. I can't think of anything else in that regard. It's been too hot to walk this week, so I won't have my update, which I will email to everybody as soon as I've finished the trail walk next week. So Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Committee Trails Construction and Maintenance Policy. This is what we've been eagerly awaiting.
Yes, I know. So this one here, we did get our comments back from M&RF, and we have entered them in, and now it's just in the staff review right now, and then we should be good.
So staff review here or staff review by okay.
Staff here, yeah.
After M&R commentary.
So realistically, would we have that for September?
I really hope so.
Okay.
We were pushing for this one, but
Mhm.
yeah, ran out of time.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is bathroom, for Carly come up.
Sorry, Councillor Nutshot, I'm not gonna talk about any HR related matters on stream, sorry.
Okay,
We,
what's up?
sorry to be somewhat, yeah.
Did you, with regard to number 12, did you have any other update in terms of commemoration in general, other than what we discussed with regards to the bridge, the floating bridge, in terms of county township policy?
So we discussed that we were gonna do the RTOA sign, and then that we were gonna do this other sign, so that's, we're gonna sort of talk about this side, so I think we're good with both.
We are,
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that one's in process, and yeah, moving forward with that, yeah.
Okay, and could I just ask out of interest, because we lost so many trees during the ice storm, what is the policy about commemorative tree planting?
I believe planning is working on tree policies,
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
So it's,
I don't want to speak to any of the specifics of something that hasn't been towards council, but there is a tree cutting / tree preservation policy that is in the works right now. And if we do not have anything currently on significant community or heritage trees. If that is included in the policy, you will see in the policy, but there is nothing as of yet. I'm not going to talk about what is in the draft though, so.
Mhm.
But that's something the committee can explore, even if there isn't a specific designation.
Mhm.
budget wise, you have $3,800 and maintain.
No, I get it,
If
yeah.
material then supplied.
Yeah, I know, but some, also, tree donations from the community. I mean, we often hear that people would like to do something, for the trails. They're not necessarily physically able to come and do the work.
Yeah.
But they like the idea of being able to commemorate somebody or with a local trees that isn't in some, far off place. So, it would be nice.
We do
to work in that
get
direction.
requests,
If we're planting the trees, those have to be in by October, right? If we're putting trees in,
Yeah, this may not even be for this year, but,
at least my thoughts or thinking was maybe we take it out of the Millbrook Times over the summer while
Mhm.
we're on break and just say anyone who's interested in doing a commemorative tree plant.
mhm.
Contact us through the summertime so that this will be right on our agenda for September. And we can have a planting day, commemorative day in October, get our trees purchased and all that kind of stuff, so that we're. Sort of kicking this down the road for not happening this year. I think we should do this.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that we've put both Public Works and Parks and Recreation staff to like incredible. They've had an incredible workload this year. So there are other things besides tree planting, like putting up trailhead signs that need doing. And I'm just wondering if we can be thoughtful about not recruiting too many other plantings for them to do come fall. Because there'd be a rush between September and freeze up to get that done. But I wonder if the spring might be a good time, as long as it isn't evergreens. Anyway, it's the first time we've ever really talked, in my experience, about the possibility of doing this.
Yeah,
recruiting
because,
public-
well, you do all the seedlings, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
To you, to the committee for Vice Chair McDonald, I would say if the committee is interested in exploring this idea, definitely Bridget could help gin up some communications materials, maybe give assistance with whatever is going in Millbrook Times, especially if the committee has a bit of a budget for tree purchasing. Township definitely has contacts for tree purchasing, we're doing our fair share.
And it sort of depends on what kind of size and caliber you're looking for,
Yeah.
like they
All that
do get
stuff,
expensive
yeah. They're
quickly, right?
really going up in price. Sorry, John.
So I'm kind of struck by the inconsistency that you can dedicate a tree, but you can't dedicate a bridge, and I didn't mean that, didn't mean to come on, but I do, I guess I'm going to straight.
I think we'd have to review
being
the
difficult, but-
commemorative part of it, yes.
Pardon me?
I think we'd have to review the commemorative part of it.
Yeah, so I'm just not,
Yeah.
I think from my standpoint, I'm not sure that's something we want to head down the road of until we find out what the policy is, and because I think we got lots of things we
Yeah.
can focus on.
Yeah, because they're looking at putting a sign at the bottom of it.
Yeah,
So that,
yeah.
I'm not 100% if that's coming in the tree policy or whatever it has.
But it's nice to think it could be possible
Yeah.
in future years.
Well, we can say at a staff level, this, for now, I believe the commemorative naming policy is not being actively pursued. At this time, we might have had to change the perspective on that. But at the same time, it was quite unequivocal at the staff level that there's not a desire to name specific pieces of infrastructure, especially if after a person that was not the primary funder. And that was the result. That was the decision that was made in the bridge. So just to be clear on that.
I think with the trees though, that could also be an approach, like it can be a commemorative thing, but we could also approach it being like, hey, we've had this storm, we have this great thing in our community. We're doing we want people, we're looking to don't get a bunch of trees. Do like like almost fundraiser style instead, so it's not like this specific trees for this specific person, but like we have a great community that loves these trails, so. I'm not saying we need to do it right away, but we could approach it that way, so it's not every tree has a memorial plaque with it, we could just get a bunch of trees. And then based on whatever budget or fundraising we do,
Mhm,
that can determine the size and the amount we can get,
mhm,
right?
mhm. But this is even just talking about fundraising, or sponsoring or anything like that is completely new.
Okay.
To us. Yeah, it has been suggested in the past, but, we haven't jumped on it. And yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
So the
Mhm.
sustainability committee,
Mhm,
that one, and
mhm.
just finished one, yeah, so it's sort of, it was very successful this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's sort of what they do. I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody uses, purchased a tree from,
Mhm.
yeah.
Five.
Very good.
Yeah.
Tried to get more.
I think it's a good idea.
I have a big program.
Yeah. A great idea. So maybe we could discuss that again in the fall, moving forward. Trail maintenance and repairs, with respect to the willow tree in Meds Park. My question about that when you brought it up is, are we thinking that that's a salvageable tree, hoping that it's a salvageable tree and that the widowmakers at the top can be got out of it without sacrificing the whole tree?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. All right.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting they're just too high for our staff, yeah. And,
Yeah. Mhm.
So we'll discuss
Mhm.
where
So-
we're at with that one, yeah.
Yeah, so when that has been done, what I'd like to see happen at some point over the summer, is that the gout weed be dug out and black plastic put down and then mulch on top of that for a 3 year.
We'll have to discuss with Oregon.
Yeah, because whether or not that's compatible with tree life and whether or not it's too runoffy for that close to the pond. And then the placement of mulch around the new bridge at the old Millbrook school.
That's been done.
Mhm. It's already been done?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
I think they did both sides of it.
Yeah. So do you need a vote on any of this stuff?
You, Vice Chairman Conlon, I just recommend as usual that we have a motion to update to adopt the updates for the work plan.
May I have such a motion, please, from someone? John? Thank you. All right. The next meeting date is September 22nd at 4 p.m. And the trail report at that time will be by Rob and you. No, Gary. Yeah.
I'll give my regrets for that meeting, I won't be able to make it, that's the fair. So,
And Lindsay.
yeah,
Yeah.
me sleeping in a hotel for 10 days, so.
Oh, right. Big work.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys, for coming in today. And I just wanted to say, just thank you very much, Chris, to you and the guys, and to the guys on Public Works as well, who've been so helpful to us when you guys have been under incredible stress and really called to do more than is reasonable in a short time to keep people safe and to keep people, there was really no interruption to our trail use of any great note at all. Partly that was that the community volunteerism involved, but the big things that really needed your attention, you got to quite quickly. So that's really great. So make sure the guys
Yes, I'll
know.
pass it on.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Can anybody think of anything else before we wrap up?
The only thing I forgot in the trail reports was the tiny section on, the little, I don't know what we even call it, off of, behind the manor.
McGuire.
so
Bridge.
that was clear, just
Yeah,
they could use a tiny bit of weed whacking, just at the cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
but otherwise there was no garbage and it was clean.
Mhm. Yeah.
Kind of sounds like we need a full
Yeah.
once through, right?
A haircut.
Yeah.
A trip.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you again, very much indeed.
Great
So
summer.
a motion to end the meeting. Thank you, Dave. Mhm.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'm starting now this meeting.
Yeah.